the weaponization of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So get a glass of sake. Part number 8. Okay, so we're going to be looking at photographic evidence to show you why you should not believe in atomic bombs, and especially the two cities that were weaponized, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, someone asked me, they said, I have no clue what you're talking about. By that, I think they meant, what do you mean by weaponization? Basically what I mean is, nothing happened in Hiroshima, August the 6th, 1945. Nothing happened in Nagasaki, August the 9th, 1945. Enola Gay didn't fly over Hiroshima and drop a bomb. Military planes didn't later go to Nagasaki and drop Fat Man. What happened was the minds of people exploded, not a bomb so horrific over Hiroshima or Nagasaki. Now, how is this done? Well, a couple of ways. The first is through trickery, photographic and film trickery. The second is through liars, false witnesses to death, claiming all this death when they know they're making it up. Liars. And then, of course, the most powerful is witchcraft. That's what makes it all work, the witchcraft. So supposedly the photograph you're looking at was taken right after the bombing of Hiroshima, which raises some interesting questions like, why does one go and photograph things after such horrific destruction? Secondly, why would they go near a place where everybody was instantly vaporized? And thirdly, who the heck took the photographs? They're still at war. Unless, of course, it was the cooperative Japanese who were working with Allied forces to perpetrate the hoax of World War II on even the Japanese people. So anyhow, once again, looking at the photographs, we need to expand them a little bit and go demon hunting and so forth. But I do have a lot of questions to ask about these photographs. And the first another question might be, if people were truly scared and truly running and truly trying to hide, how is it that these 4 human skulls, supposedly they're human skulls, they're just probably plaster Paris models, or even discarded bowling balls. How did these 4 plaster Paris models, bowling balls, or supposedly human skulls all end up so close in proximity? That's a good question. When people are scared, everybody runs for their own life. Every man for himself was the old phrase. You might say every woman for herself. So anyhow, as I mentioned before, the old-fashioned way of doing things was to embed demons and ghosts and ghouls. So we're going to start, I think, over here. It's a real obvious one right here. They embed them. In other words, it's trick photography. so that you'll believe it's really spooky there, because you got all these demons looking at you. Now, as I'm doing this, you can be looking around and do some demon hunting yourself. Get out your demon detector, you know, like metal detectors. By the way, I like metal detecting and I think it's fun and interesting, but I think some of the channels are fake in that they plant some coins just so you get just so they get the views. Now, some of them are not. That's kind of a little commentary on another subject, but anyhow, I'm sure folks wonder about me. Who am I? And, you know, why do I do this? The reason I do it is because I want an educated public. It's like counter-education. Okay, you went to high school and you learned all about the atomic bomb. Well, it's time to get it out of your head. They don't exist. Einstein was a fake, played by Larry Fine of the Three Stooges. Harry Truman was a fake, played by none other than Jimmy Durante. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha, with the big nose. The nose was a prop, by the way. Now that's what's looking at you. One demon looking at you in this photograph. And there are plenty more. Now, I'm not going to engage too much in finding many more, because I've already introduced this concept to you. And I've done it with other things, such as the American Indian Wars. They were fake. Sorry, I know you want to believe in Custer's last stand. Custer was played by a Shakespearean actor. You can check out my channel, Who is Who in Hoaxology. I do extensive studies on just exposing the actors. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just let this thing play a little bit, because it is a video. And the video I'm using, by the way, is the video I showed you before. White rain, or white light, black rain. Now notice the contrast. Anything demonic or occult, they love contrast. They love opposites. Because the theory is the white needs the black, the male needs the female, the good God needs the evil devil. Now it's all a lie. Okay? That's not true. God is pure, and He doesn't need the devil and doesn't want the devil. In fact, the end of the devil is very clearly given to us in Book of Revelation. Alright, so I'm going to let this roll a little bit. This is the scary part in the DVD. So hold on to your seat. Woo. Now I could stop it and we could do some more demon hunting if you like, but I'm not going to, because you got the idea. You can do this kind of stuff on your own without me, and you'll be shocked. Anytime you see a bunch of gibberish junk like that, especially if it's ghoulish, most likely they're embedding demons. And sometimes they'll actually embed symbols, and I've even caught them occasionally embedding words. You might say it's the version of what's called subliminal seduction. In other words, it's not meant for the conscious level, It's meant for the unconscious level. Going back to your Freudian discoveries, that there is a lot of truth to that. And indeed, it ties into the book I talked a little bit about with public opinion. Walter Lippmann, 1922. Lippmann's basically saying we love images. And our brain, if our brain is what does the thinking, I say that as a footnote because it may not be, wherever the thinking occurs, it loves pictures. Now, if you go into Old Testament, you don't find the word brain, all right? You do find the word heart. And the heart was the seat of emotions and thoughts and will. And that carries over into New Testament. So basically when I say thinking, where's the thinking done? Most people assume and they go, it's the brain. But as far as what we know is the brain is just an electrical device that shoots electrical impulses all around the body and makes different things happen and occur in the body because of the electrical impulses. But where is the center of thought? So I'm challenging the idea of a brain being the center of thought and trying to give a little more biblical perspective. But wherever the center of thought exists in man or woman, it loves pictures. In that first chapter of that book, it talked about the pictures in our head. So they want to plant pictures in your head and mine. Now the pictures will speak forever and ever. The words have very little, slight impact. And even according to communication experts will tell you that about 75% of communication is nonverbal. In other words, they're only going to give you 25% on the verbal. Nonverbal is the most powerful, which is why, by the way, you get into trouble emailing and you get into trouble text messaging and you get into trouble posting on Facebook and all that stuff because there's no nonverbal. A little bit if you're doing like photography of yourself or video of yourself, a little bit there, but for the most part, the nonverbal needs to be one-on-one, okay? Anyhow, I know I digress, but I enjoy talking, and it's maybe why I enjoy making videos. I enjoy the fact that maybe somebody listens to what I say. Okay, so this is on that video, and it's like a segment. They're going to combine photos of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So you can do some demon hunting yourself with these types of photos, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now notice they play scary music. Now it almost looks right here in their photographic evidence where they've spliced together two of these ghoulish things, the bottom one with all the demons embedded in bones, and then they're going to give you like a view of the whole area. And once we start into this, I'll make a comment I made earlier, and you'll see what I mean. It's just photographic fakery. And most likely it came from Lookout Mountain, the special photography film studio located by the Hollywood sign. It was right up there in Laurel Mountain or Laurel Canyon. And we also know later on that that was a site for the CIA operation of introducing rock music and yes, even drugs later. Right there came from Laurel Canyon. And this is Lookout Mountain photography work that you're seeing, and that's all you're seeing. No one was over there with a camera filming this stuff, or a video camera, or photographers or anything. No one. It's all done in a studio. Okay, so again, this is supposed to be Hiroshima. Now, you will hear all the reports of how everything was incinerated. Incinerated, instantly. Even human bodies. All right? Now, I've got to ask you these questions. What are these posts doing up? And what are these ruins of buildings doing up? Now, they'll start out saying the temperature was 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And then later, in these more modern, adding on to the lie, they'll talk about it being 1,000,000 degrees or something. In other words, they always increase things. It's like the fish story. It was 12 inches when it was caught. And by the time it was done being told, it was 2 feet long. So there's another thing. There's a meteorologist down there, right? And he's recording the speed of the winds, right? Well, everybody's getting incinerated, right? So if this thing was so destructive, so powerful, what are those posts doing up? Or those tree branches, or whatever the heck they're supposed to be. Now you can see it's just photographic fakery. Now it looks to me like there's an individual standing here. Now a lot of times I try to discover things with you. So we're going to go to the cross, and there might be some symbolism there. That they're mocking the cross of Jesus. Someone is standing there, I don't know. And again, if we know all this stuff about radiation and all this radiation sickness, what is someone doing standing there? You see, the questions you raise will indeed at least allow for an individual to, quote, get suspicious. They may not be able to let go of the lies, and the reason is that the hoax lie system functions on emotion. Okay, from my perspective, it looked like a human being. But I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, what is it doing standing? Now you can see how blurry everything looks, and that's because in 1945 they didn't have the capabilities to make the type of good CGI that we have today. So let's look at this little wall thing, or whatever this is supposed to be, right here. There's probably some things embedded in there. It's almost like a outdoor movie screen. Like a drive-in movie. You might be able to see things that I'm not able to see as I'm filming. And some of you leave comments telling me things that you've seen when I'm doing this. And I greatly appreciate that. But you can see this thing is like a layered photographic fakery. That there's like different layers put together. So you would have like a top layer of a background with these mountains. And you have another layer here and another layer here. Which also raises another question is, if everything is so destroyed and so chaotic, how do these rows remain? Now the reason they leave stuff remaining is so that you say, oh, look what happened to that city. Nothing happened. to Hiroshima, August 6, 1945, and nothing happened to Nagasaki, August 9th, 1945. Okay, they're saying, oh, they're instantly vaporized. Oh, it can vaporize a human being, but not vaporize these tree branches? Or even the rest of these buildings? Now you can see right there how the photographs are just blurry gibberish. Now earlier the estimate that I've seen in other documentaries is 120,000. They love to play with the statistics. Once again, you can see the layering, like almost like 3 layers blended together, top, middle, and bottom. Okay, now I asked myself the question, why is it that they want to use a Catholic church for a visual? Why do they use the church as the, oh, look at the destruction, but yet it's still standing? And I'm going to tell you why. Now, this is not meant to offend anyone in the Roman Catholic faith, because you may not be aware that it is run secretively by what is called the Black Pope. And I don't mean color of skin. What I mean is there's a hidden individual that runs the secret ops of the Roman Catholic Church, and in particular the Jesuit community. Now, Jesuits were started right after Reformation to try to counteract what they thought was the damage done by Martin Luther the monk. In other words, they were losing control over the populace. So they brought a group of individuals into existence called the Jesuits. Now the Jesuits work on that level of getting the New World Order established. So that's probably why Nagasaki is focused in on a Roman Catholic Church community. You know, notice that one day after the so-called bombing of Nagasaki. So let's ask some questions like, if everything they're saying is true, why in the blue blazes would anyone want to go near it one day afterwards? Next question, who did the photographing? Most likely, they all just come from the same source. They're manufactured in a hidden facility up in Lookout Mountain, up by the Hollywood sign, with a photographic studio far superior to anything in Hollywood, because it was run by the government. Now I'll stop it in case you'd like to do a little demon hunting and get your camera out, or get your eyesight out, or get your glasses out, or your magnifying glass, and look around. See what you can see in a microscopic manner. Now they want you to see the big picture. And one way to outfox them is to look at the little picture. In other words, microscopic details are their means of telling you we're liars. Because they have to tell you they're a liar. Alright? If they don't, their witchcraft will not work. Now what are you really looking at? They're baby dolls. Look at the size of the teeth in them. You got the scary music. Now what are you looking at here? This is just like a clay model that they baked in the oven. Just baked clay like you bake pottery. And it's going to be a male phallic symbol coming right at you.
I have received this afternoon a message from the Japanese government.
Okay, now what you need to do is put on a big nose and change the voice slightly and give it a little goofy accent to it. Take off the glasses, and that is Jimmy Durante. You can see my channel, Who's Who in Hoaxology. For a long time I didn't know who True Man was. But then I watched that clip of Jimmy Durante visiting his friend Harry Truman after Truman left office, and his friend went to check on him. He was their way of duping you, like, oh, Jimmy Durante's good friends with Harry Truman, huh? Well, I'm going to tell you something. It was Jimmy Durante.
In reply to the message forwarded to that government by the Secretary of State on August 11th, I deem this reply a full acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration, which specifies the unconditional...
Now, one other thing I'd like to tell you about any hoax lie news story, they always have the main speaker and then they have someone behind them, or several behind them, or they have a flag behind them, and then even sometimes they'll have a map, especially if it's a war thing. What's his name? Lippmann mentions that in his book, that the great French general was going to do a press interview, and they said, "Sir, there's no maps on the wall." And he said, "Well, by all means put maps on the wall then, because if you're going to be a general, you have to have a map somewhere. Now, if you're going to be an important persona, in terms of stage presence, persona, you need props around you. You need others to verify that you are extremely important. So usually they'll have, if a politician's speaking about a tragedy, they'll have like the chief of police, the fire captain, the mayor, everybody in the background. So the background is usually very important, and whenever you're examining hoax lie system, look at the background, and the background will tell you something.
Surrender of Japan.
Newsmen rushed the president's report to a waiting world, and through the early evening, Tuesday, August 14th, the fateful news is flashed.
Hey, how'd you like the teeth on that gal? Now, there could be a lot of what you call crowd exaggeration or crowd hoaxing, and that's a pretty common thing they'll do with different important events. Like maybe in New York City, it wasn't as crowded as they give to you, that there was a crowd, but it was certainly nothing of what you think it was. They do that a lot. The Billy Graham Crusades, a lot of crowd hoaxing there. I uncovered Billy Graham, by the way. He's part of the hoax lie system too, by the way. Sorry. Now, I say these things I've had like 40 years. 40 years of admiring and respecting. the ministry of that woman. And by the way, most likely he was a she. Now these things will blow your mind, and you may not want to watch any more of my videos, and that's fine with me, but you've been lied to. And I don't care if you agree with everything I say. You don't have to. But the one thing I'd like for you to concur with is you've been lied to. You've been under propaganda. You've been under the system that has been portrayed to us in the trilogy called The Matrix. And so have I. So I'm just trying to help people get out of it and live a different life. A good life, not the life they want you to lead.
In New York City, as throughout a rejoicing nation and world, vast throngs of grateful, happy people celebrate the end of fighting, the dawn of peace. 2 million New Yorkers jam Times Square. It's official. It's all over. It's total victory.
Our endeavor in using these bombs was...
Okay, I'm not going to go into these liars. I've already done some work on those liars. But anyhow, I'd like to say thank you for watching, and I want to encourage you to do your own homework, do your own research, and if you're daring enough, make your own videos. I was scared to make my very first one, in a way, and I had absolutely hardly anyone look at my very first one, and I remember when I got my first view on my first video, I was thrilled. So I'm thrilled that you've watched, and I'm even more thrilled if you've watched to the end, and I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to say God bless, and I'll see you in another video. End of video.